The little things principle. I often don't like small things. I want big things, big impact, big stories. But I've learned that to get to the significant things in my work with nonprofit media and communications, it takes a long time, and just showing up day in and day out. That's the little things principle. Consider this parable from Jesus in Luke chapter 16, the parable of the shrewd manager. Now Jesus said to his disciples, there was a rich man who received an accusation that his manager was squandering his possessions. So he called the manager in and asked, what is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, because you can no longer be my manager. Then the manager said to himself, what will I do since my master has taken the management away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig, I'm ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do so that when I'm removed from management, people will welcome me into their homes. So he summoned each one of his master's debtors. How much do you owe my master? He asked the first one. 100 measures of olive oil, he said. Take your invoice, he told him. Sit down quickly and write 50. Next he asked another. How much do you owe? 100 measures of wheat, he said. Take your invoice, he told him, and write 80. The master praised the unrighteous manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the children of this age are more shrewd than the children of light in dealing with their own people. And I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of worldly wealth, so that when it fails, they will welcome you into eternal dwellings. Whoever is faithful in very little is also faithful in much, and whoever is unrighteous in very little is also unrighteous in much. So if you have not been faithful with worldly wealth, who will trust you with what is genuine? And if you have not been faithful with what belongs to someone else, who will give you what is your own? No servant can serve two masters, since either he will hate one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. There's a lot of directions we could go with this parable, but let's stick to the points Jesus highlights at the end. It's good to be wise to use money and your possessions to build relationships with people for eternal spiritual effect, because wealth won't last. Not like the pharaohs who were buried with all of their treasures, thinking they were taking it with them into the afterlife, but instead it just sits there and wastes away. Use your money wisely. So go ahead and be generous. Be generous with what you have. Be generous with what you're managing. Serve God, not money. This parable is about a manager, so learn to be a good manager. Make shrewd money decisions. Don't be foolish. One of the things I see in this parable is that the shrewd manager is trying to collect some debts. It's often the case that somebody who owes a debt, they're not going to pay anything. They have nothing to pay. So a debt collector will try to get as much as they can. I kind of see that's one angle of what's happening here. The shrewd manager says, I need to get something from these people that owe my master. So he cuts a deal. He gets 80 from one, 50 from the other. Why he cut two different deals, we don't know. Rewriting the invoice to a different amount is better than zero. Being faithful and trustworthy in the little things as it leads to bigger things. At the beginning of the parable, there's a rumor about the manager that he's squandering his master's possessions. Is he really doing that? It could be a rumor. It could be true. Maybe he's being lazy. Maybe he's not hustling. Maybe he's kind of sitting back on his laurels. At the end of the parable, did he get fired? We don't know for sure. Maybe the rich man kept his manager on after seeing how shrewd he was. This manager, he gets called out by his master. But then he steps up and he hustles and he makes some deals and he makes some friends. I remember one project I was consulting on. We had been preparing the scripts for an audio recording in a faraway country, and the guy we got to do the voice work wanted to record, and we tried to make an agreement with him. He wanted about $10,000 up front. Didn't sound like a good idea. I advised against it, but because we didn't have too many other options, the manager on the project went ahead and gave the money to the guy up front. And of course, the artist took off and we didn't hear from him. That's a pretty bad mistake, and that's a hard pill to swallow. How are we going to tell our donors that we lost that kind of money with no results? Interestingly, though, the same person found me years later on social media, the guy who had taken the $10,000, and he was asking me for help, and I remembered what he had done. I think he was desperate and he was in a really difficult situation, but I wasn't about to trust him with the same kind of money. So I went back to the little things principle, and I said, hey, if you produce for me a short video in your town on the coast filming and editing the process of like a seafood culinary dish, just something small but culturally interesting, and send it to me. Then I'll pay you a small amount of money. He agreed. He did a good job. He sent me the video just a couple days later, and I paid him. I had to change the way that I dealt with him. It's like a sample at Sam's Club or Costco or Trader Joe's. There's a new product that comes out. You want to try one small piece of it before you buy the big, huge package. It's kind of like an audition. If you're casting for a film, you're going to bring in 10 different actors and have them read one scene from your script to see which one of the actors you're going to pick to give them a larger responsibility in the filming of the entire project. If you have an employee or an intern and you're not sure if they're going to be a good long-term solution for your organization, what are you going to do? You're going to assign them some smaller tasks and responsibilities to see if they have the abilities you need to give them more. Once you've identified a really good person to work with who works hard and has a compatible vision with you, then you're going to want to work with that person over and over again. It's not easy to find hard workers that you can trust. So once you find them, stick with them for the long term. Film companies as well show a cut of their film to a small test audience to get their feedback and input before they finalize it and make any changes to release it on a worldwide scale. In the television world, if somebody has a new idea for a new TV show and they want to propose it to a network, they'll invest in what they call a pilot episode. They'll go through all the paces, produce it, polish it, finish it, and then send it to one of the platforms or networks. And if they like it and they sell it, usually they'll make a deal for an entire season or 2 seasons with numerous episodes in the deal. But it wouldn't be possible if they didn't create a really good pilot episode, a smaller sample episode. There's also the cumulative effect of this principle, that if you post one small thing every day on your blog or on your social media channel, none of them may have a big splash. But by the end of the year, 365 days later, you'll see a bigger cumulative effect with lots of follows and visitors because you faithfully showed up day by day in the small ways. If you're going to run an advertising campaign, start small with a test audience. See how your ad performs. Make a tweak, make some changes and adjustments, and then run it on a large scale. In nonprofit media communications, often we don't have tons of resources, so we work on small budgets. Most projects that I've worked on over the years fall into the $5,000 category or below. I think the biggest one I ever worked on was about $20,000 for a short film. Oftentimes donors will give you smaller amounts and they're interested to know what you're going to do with it. And if you're faithful and trustworthy in those little things, they're more likely to increase their donations and invest more in your organization. Don't always wait until you have more money, more resources to do that thing that you're passionate about. Start now. Start small. Make it happen. So take this little thing principle and put it into practice and build something bigger.